All right, folks, I have just done a bunch of roll calling, and now it's time. Oh, can I zoom? Yeah. You bet I can. All right. And now it's time to get back into Stephen King and Frank Darabont. Their work here. How's my hair? Yeah. It's on my head. All right. This time I guess I'll use the microphone so that, because this is not recording a damn thing. Okay, so we got this wonderful thing, and the link has been up here for a little while. So hope you've read this. Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. Shawshank is the name of a prison. Why does my coffee look that color? That's a little strange, but I don't know. Anyway, let's move away from this accent here. Good. All right, we're finishing this. Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption is great. If, in case you don't know, and you probably don't, who Rita Hayworth is, let me show you her image. Here we go. This beautiful young woman, and this is the shot. This is the shot that's used in the movie. It's not the same. It's not the same shot that's referred to in the novel, but it works really well. Me. She's great. Her real name is something other than this. Let me take a look and see if I can just tell you really quickly. Yes, Margarita Carmen Cancino, who's called Rita Hayworth. I'm really glad I could pull that up so fast. A sexy person, and apparently her real name is Cancino, and she never really legally changed her name to Rita Hayworth. Interesting. She was born in 1918. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Now it says she later changed her last name. What? I don't want to do my homework. She changed her last name to Hayworth when she began her career as an actress under the advice of her first husband and manager, Edward Judson. She did get married to Orson Welles. Oh my gosh, and their daughter's name was Rebecca, which is one of the big movies by Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock, right now, not Orson Welles. They were married only for a few years. Married in 1943, divorced in 1947, not long. This is a typo, it seems. He did not marry the prince. This is a little too early. Apparently, she was married 5 times, always to men. How boring. Oh well. Wow. Oh, anyway, so that's Rita Hayworth, and she is not a character in this story at all. Instead, let me move over here. I'm going to blow this up. What? Okay, that's about as big as I can make it. I'm going to wait for a second till the bell stops because I hate that bell. Okay. Rita Hayworth was a movie actress, and she does not appear in this story at all. It was just a hook used by Stephen King to
kind of attract the interest of readers, to put it into the title here. And it's not unrelated to the story. Her poster is what's important to the story here. And in fact, there's a series of posters as the story goes on. The narrator of this story, it's a novella, which means it's like longer than a short story, and it has there's a certain range of lengths that a novella can be. It's shorter than it's longer than a short story, but shorter than a regular novel. A novel usually is at least 90,000 words, 50,000 words. I can't remember at the moment, but it's some tens of thousands of words. And this is a little shorter, and that's part of the reason why this is a pretty good choice, because it's short enough. And so you should be able to read the whole thing, and I hope you have. Or if you haven't yet, I hope you will by next Monday, because today is Monday, and next week will be another class. All right. Wow. Gosh, when I think about this pair of artworks, the novella by Stephen King and the adaptation by Frank Darabont, I have a flood of images of differences between the original and the thing. Oh wait, and I've got the script too. Yes, I do. I love this. I love this movie. Wait, did I skip it? Yes, I did. Okay, let me pick up the script. I've got the script for this too. That's share movies. Where's the script? Here's the script. I'm just going to copy this verbatim. And put it in here. The script is really good, and this is not the final script. It's not a transcript. It's the shooting script. And there's in my mind, in my mind, there's at least one scene which was scripted but did not make it into the final cut. This is where this goes. Yeah, there it is. Oh, I found it. It's right here. Okay, very good. This is the script for the movie. It's a darn good script. And the final version, like I said, is not exactly the same. For example, the song that is heard on the radio is a different song. In the movie, it's If I Didn't Care. It does not show Andy Dufresne. This is a French name, and it's pronounced Dufresne. The S is not pronounced because French is a messed up language. I do not know this song specifically, but it's a good choice that they made for that Darabont made for the movie. And it's one of my favorite songs, always has been for many decades. Okay. Okay, so here's the story itself. I'm not going to ask you or assign that you should read the script, but I encourage you to, because, well, it won't take any longer than to watch the movie, because, it's a script. And so things go at the same speed. Unless you read really slowly, which I hope you don't, since you're English majors. Like I was saying, and I never finished this up, so let me fix it now. I beg your pardon, I'm sorry, I'm sleepy. Boy, wow. The narrator is a character usually named Reds. This is a nickname. And what I started to say was, when I started to compare these two artworks, this is the example I thought of. The reason why this character is named Red. And it actually, we don't have so long to read before we get to that point. So I'm going to wait. Okay, in case you don't know who Stephen King is, as someone who's an English major, you should be familiar with American pop culture. And this is one of the big pop culture names. Stephen King is a novelist, mostly. He writes short stories sometimes too, and publishes them here and there, and then gathers them into anthologies, groups of his stories. Anyway, he's excellent. He's a great storyteller, and he's best known, I think, for horror stories, frightening stories. But for me, that's not what makes him an appealing author. He can just tell a very good story where you read it, you feel you know the characters as if they were personally known to you. He tells a great story. You always want to know what's going to happen next. And it's just so much fun and so interesting to read. Even when it's scary, it's still very interesting and enjoyable to read. You may have to sleep with the lights on after that, but yeah, he's just a really good writer. He really is. Okay, well, this is very short. It's only 88 pages long. Oh, that's short. Oh, well, you can't all have, Stephen King length novels. Oh, my. He writes sometimes very thick novels, hundreds and hundreds of pages long, which is wonderful. I was going to say you can have a Dickensian length like Charles Dickens's novels, which are also very long. But gosh, Stephen King is a great example of an author who writes very long novels. Typically, I feel disappointed when I get a Stephen King novel that's less than an inch thick. One of the things which Darabont does well in the adaptation is to take different relevant details and condense them into a single scene. The word that's often used is conflation. I love that word, conflation. In, for example, Shakespeare's history plays, he would often combine either several different historical figures into a single character who fulfills all of the functions of that to save on actors and stuff like that, and to make the story a little less confusing because there are fewer characters. And Shakespeare also would combine things like battles, which took place in history, and make them into one scene, a single battle, where all of those things happen. And but Darabont does the same sort of things, taking selected details that are key to the story and combining them into a single speech or a single paragraph. I said that wrong. Into a single scene, anyway, of the screenplay. For example, one of the early scenes that we see is about Red. Red is being reviewed. There are three scenes like this. Whoops, I gotta pause again. You can step out and go to the bathroom if you're very fast. I'm kidding. Just carry the phone to the bathroom, that'll be fine. I won't even tell anybody. I hate waiting for this bell to finish. Okay, good. Okay. Now, Red is the narrator of this, and sometimes the narration is placed into dialogue because otherwise, I mean, the actor who plays Red in the movie is the wonderful and distinguished and long-lived career I forgot what the beginning of the sentence was, so I'm not sure how to finish the sentence, but the actor with such a great career, and I've known him all of my life. I'm 50. I've known him since I was probably a baby. Is Morgan Freeman, a great black actor, and he's just super. And he is especially known, especially now, for the quality of his voice, which I'm not even going to try to imitate because I know I would mess it up. But he's just a wonderful, wonderful reader, and he does voiceovers for things. He was God in one of the Almighty movies. He was the narrator for that movie about penguins, the nature documentary thing. He's just so good. He's a great voiceover actor, as well as an on-stage actor. And he's been a comedian, and he's been all things. For my whole life, he's been just wonderful in everything. And at this point, when this movie was making, and by the way, the name, if I remember correctly, and I think I do, 1994. Yes. The movie, The Shawshank Redemption, is very strangely translated into Chinese. The marketing name of this movie, The Shawshank Redemption is its proper name, is translated as Miracle 1994, which has no resemblance to the real title, and I can't understand what they thought would be a good idea about that new name, Miracle 1994. My apples! It's really just is ridiculous, a ridiculous change. But what I was saying is some of the narration in the movie is done as dialogue. But in other cases, the narration comes up as actual voiceover narration. This is one of the earliest examples that I'm aware of, although of course I'm not aware of everything, but it's one of the earliest examples that I know about, at least, of Morgan Freeman doing voiceover acting. And he's so good and so famous for that, pardon me, nowadays, that it's just, it's kind of a landmark in his career. That's not the right name. The other main character, the central character in the movie, and in the story, is Andy Dufresne. And he's played by Tim Robbins. Oh, thank God, I just suddenly remembered the name. Tim Robbins is really good. And this is the best thing I've ever seen him in. He's really great. Let me see. There are a lot of details that I could talk about. Do we really need to see this all the time? I don't know. Or maybe we can open it with... Can I download it? Download. Let me try to download this. Here we go. Now, let's open it in Adobe. Adobe is a bee that's made out of dough, of course. Hey, better. Now you can maybe even see the words. Hey, bye, baby. Now you can maybe see some of the words. That's pretty nice, huh? Hey, look out, who's your friend? Who's your friend? It's me. All right. Well, anyway. Hi there. I don't know if anyone can see my face or not, but At any rate, we get some, see, the order of things is different here. There are a bunch of things which are quite different, in fact. Little details usually, but the main reason in general, I believe, I mean, I'm just second guessing the screenwriter and director, who are both Frank Darabont. But I believe many of these things were changed either for the sake of economy, of time, and fewer scenes and everything, but also because it just works better in a movie to do it that way. And especially because not every detail of the novella appears in the movie, because you can't do every detail unless it's like a long miniseries. So he had to cut some things out, and he has to order the things that were made into a semblance of, things that so it makes sense to the viewer. This is something which never appears in the movie at all. This explanation. This part here, is in the movie as voiceover, Red talking about himself, and it's also in the first person because he's the narrator. He's not a third-person narrator. Here's the background. Why Red is in jail. He says, I came to I cannot do his voice, and I don't want to try, but it kind of comes naturally to me to imitate people's voices. Oh well, I came to Shawshank when I was just 20, and I'm one of the few people in our happy little family willing to own up to what he did. This is the theme which runs through the novel and the movie. Everyone always says, oh, the lawyer cheated me, or I'm innocent, this kind of thing. But Red owns up. In other words, he is willing to speak out that he really did a crime. He committed murder. I put a large insurance policy on my wife, who was 3 years older than I was. Then I fixed the brakes on the Chevrolet Coupe, or Coupe, her father had given us as a wedding present. It worked out exactly as I planned, except I had planned on her stopping to pick up the neighbor woman and the neighbor woman's infant son on their way down to Castle Hill and into town. I should mention, when Stephen King mentions other towns, small towns, usually they're part of his mythical geography in Maine, where this takes place. When Red tells us that he fixed the brakes, that means he actually did not fix them, he actually broke the brakes, so that when they're going down a hill, they would not, the pressing on the brake pedal would not stop the car. So there was a crash. And I'll just read directly here. The brakes let go, and the car crashed through the bushes at the end of the town common, gathering speed. Bystanders said it must have been doing 50 or better when it hit the base of the Civil War statue and burst into flames. And so he was 20 years old. Wow. This next part here, which is a key part of the opening of the story, is also in the novel. Beg your pardon. Is in the movie, but this is moved to the end, which actually is not that unreasonable, because it's something spoken by a man who has lived through all of the events in the narrative, and so he could say that at any time, referring to the things that happened back years ago. The end of the movie extrapolates a scene or two, in other words, invents, based on what has gone before, makes up an extra little bit of the story to give a satisfying ending. And think it is very satisfying. It's wonderful. Okay. So anyway, Red introduces himself and then he changes direction. Says, anyway, it's not me I want to tell you about. I want to tell you about a guy named Andy Dufresne. But before I can tell you about Andy, I have to explain a few other things about myself. It won't take long. Wow. Wow. So remember, Red appeared, as an inmate. He killed 3 people with this car accident murder, and so the judge gave him 3 life sentences, which, in practical terms, doesn't make any sense because people can't die 3 times. But it means that he's there for the rest of his life, and if he dies briefly and then comes back to life, he still doesn't get out. The reason why they gave him that kind of penalty is because there's no capital punishment. In other words, in Maine, they don't kill you for murders and things. They can't. It's illegal. And so they did this instead. And I just wanted to emphasize right here that he was in there for, he got in there when he was 20, and he says, I've been the guy who can get it for you here at Shawshank for damn near 40 years, which means at the time he's speaking to us, he's 60 or close to 60, 50, late 50s, even older than me. Okay. So good for living that long in jail, gosh. What the heck, that tastes terrible. Why does that taste so bad? This coffee is awful. The brand name is Barista, which means it's like a bartender for coffee. At any rate, this is a story for young adults. It's not for children. There are some pretty serious adult themes going through this, including things like sex, violent crimes, and things like that. But you all are adults, right? So, good. Wow. Anyhow, the impetus or the thing which stimulates the friendship between Andy Dufresne and Red is that Red is the character who is able to arrange to get things from outside by doing deals with guards or other people, and he charges for his. I don't want to show this particular screen. Neiman Marcus is put in there in a different typeface. I wonder why. Anyway, he can get things like cigarettes and alcohol and marijuana and a lot of other kinds of things. Right. And so here again is the kind of interest triggering line right at the end of what we can see right here on page 2 at the bottom. He says, I'm a regular Sears Roebuck. Both of these are places where you can buy stuff. Sears Roebuck, in fact, used to be a catalog, mail order catalog. And this is a good point to mention that yesterday in the news it said that the nominal president of the United States right now, Mr. Donald J. Trump, is threatening or preparing or wishing to eliminate postal service in the United States. There would be no mail. And all of the people who work for the Postal Service now would lose their jobs completely and their careers would be gone. Probably their retirements would be canceled. He would be harming. I mean, everyone needs mail. I mean, my God. Sears Roebuck, which used to be a catalog, depended on the mail for its entire existence until it became a physical shopping location at shopping malls. And this is something that's on my mind, so I just wanted to mention it for a second here. Okay. Andy came to Shawshank prison in 1948, and he was 30 years old. Oh, this is so great. Let me just start the beginning of the movie here for us, and we'll get a feeling for it. Then we can resume next time. Songs by the Ink Spots, black group. Terrific. This is Buck Graham singing, I believe.
More than words can say. If I didn't care, would I feel this way? If this isn't love, why do I thrill? And what makes my head go round and round while my heart stands still? If I didn't care, would it be the same? Would my every prayer begin and end with just your name?
Oh, that was beautiful.
And would I be sure that
This is Andy.
is love beyond compare? Would all this be true if I didn't care for you?
Mr. Dufresne, describe the confrontation you had with your wife the night that she was murdered.
It was very bitter. She said she was glad I knew, that she hated all the sneaking around. She said she wanted a divorce in Reno.
What was your response?
I told her I would not grant one.
I'll see you in hell before I see you in Reno. Those are the words you used, Mr. Dufresne, according to the testimony of your neighbors.
If they say so. I really don't remember. I was upset.
What happened after you argued with your wife?
She packed a bag. She packed a bag to go and stay with Mr. Quinn.
Glenn Quinton, golf pro at the Snowden Hills Country Club. The man you had recently discovered was your wife's lover. Did you follow her?
Went to a few bars first. Later, I drove to his house to confront them. They weren't home, so I parked in the turnout and waited.
With what intention?
I'm not sure. I was confused, drunk. I think mostly I wanted to scare them.
When they arrived, you went up to the house and murdered them.
No, I was sobering up. I got back in the car and I drove home to sleep it off. Along the way, I stopped and I threw my gun into the Royal River. I feel I've been very clear on this point.
Well, where I get hazy is where the cleaning woman shows up the following morning and finds your wife in bed with her lover riddled with 38 caliber bullets. Now, does that strike you as a fantastic coincidence, Mr. Dufresne, or is it just me?
Yes, it does.
Yet you still maintain that you threw your gun into the river before the murders took place. That's very convenient.
It's the truth.
The police dragged that river for 3 days and nary a gun was found. So there could be no comparison made between your gun and the bullets taken from the blood-stained corpses of the victims. And that also is very convenient, isn't it, Mr. Dufresne?
Since I am innocent of this crime, sir, I find it decidedly inconvenient that the gun was never found.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard all the evidence. You know all the facts. We have the accused at the scene of the crime. We have footprints, tire tracks. We have bullets strewn on the ground that bear his fingerprints. A broken bourbon bottle, likewise with fingerprints. And most of all, we have a beautiful young woman and her lover lying dead in each other's arms. They had sinned. But was their crime so great as to merit a death sentence? Now, while you think about that, think about this. A revolver holds 6 bullets, not 8. I submit that this was not a hot-blooded crime of passion. That at least could be understood if not condoned. No, this was revenge of a much more brutal, cold-blooded nature. Consider this: 4 bullets per victim. Not 6 shots fired, but 8. That means that he fired the gun empty and then stopped to reload so that he could shoot each of them again. An extra bullet per lover, right in the head.
You strike me as a particularly icy and remorseless man, Mr. Dufresne. It chills my blood just to look at you. By the power vested in me by the state of Maine, I hereby order you to serve 2 life sentences back to back. 1 for each of your victims. So be it.
Okay, now it's time for me to make a little remark. Because we know that in the original story, Red had caused 3 people to die, 2 adults and 1 child, an infant. Which is the reason why they gave him 3 life sentences. Well, that part is not in the movie, but they took the concept of killing more than 1 person and serving more than 1 life sentence and moved it over to Andy. Now, I mentioned to you that we saw all the stuff we've seen of Andy on the night when the lovers, his wife and the golf pro were killed. And we saw all of those things, but we didn't see him shoot the gun or anything like that. And it's intended, definitely intentional, that we don't know for certain that Andy really was the murderer. Here's the first of the 3 scenes I was telling you about, where Red has the chance to, to be up for parole. It's called a parole review, and all of these 5 men here are here to listen to what he has to say and decide whether he's been good enough and is ready to return to the regular world. In other words, to be released from prison. It works very well. This is red.
Sit. We see by your file you served 20 years of a life sentence.
Yes, sir.
You feel you've been rehabilitated?
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. I mean, I learned my lesson. I can honestly say that I'm a changed man. And no longer a danger to society. That's God's honest truth.
Don't worry about it.
Hey, Red. How'd it go? Same old shit, different day. Yeah. How you feel? I'm up for rejection next week.
Yeah, I never did it last week.
Yeah.
You bet. Smoke me a deck. Man, you met the man for 5 packs already. 4, 5.
There must be a con like me in every prison in America. I'm the guy who can get it for you. Cigarettes, a bag of reefer, if that's your thing. A bottle of brandy to celebrate your kid's high school graduation. Damn near anything within reason.
See, that whole speech is slightly edited for content. I mean, not for content, but for length. But that's the very beginning of the novel right there.
Yes, sir. I'm a regular Sears and Roebuck. So when Andrew Dufresne came to me in 1949 and asked me to smuggle Rita Hayworth into the prison for him, I told him, no problem.
Music is damn good, by the way. Guy walking right through the water.
Andy came to Shawshank Prison in early 1947 for murdering his wife in the fellow she was banging. On the outside, he'd been vice president of a large Portland bank. Good work for a man as young as he was.
Okay, wait, let me just fact check for just a moment here. Said he came in 1947, I believe, and he was very young. This one says he came to Shawshank in 1948 and he was 30 years old. Well, I guess that's pretty young, yeah. Okay, just a little fact checking.
Hey, Rick.
You speak English, Patsy? You follow his officer. I've seen such a sorry-looking heap of banging shit in all my life.
this particular guard is an important character in the movie named Byron Hadley. There you go. Mean son of a bitch. Good. Oh, one of the things that I wanted to mention, and I'll just pick it up right now, is, for example, the character who's only known as Fat Ass, coming up in a moment, an overweight prisoner who has just arrived with Andy. And the novel mentions that people would always cry, at least one person would cry on their first night in prison. And what Frank Darabont did is make that into a scene. The novel didn't have a specific example, it just had a general remark about that. He built it into a whole scene with a bunch of different characters, as you'll see. Tim Robbins is a man with a big forehead.
Taking bets today, Red? Smoke's a coin. Better choice.
Smoke. Put me down for 2.
All right, who's your horse?
That little sack is shit. 8. 8 from the front. You'll be first.
Oh, bullshit. I'll take that action. Yeah, me too. You're out some smoke, son. Let me tell you.
Well, hey, when you're so smart, you call it.
I'll take it. Little chubby fat ass there. 5th one from the front. Put me down for quarter deck.
I must admit I didn't think much of Andy the first time I laid eyes on him. Looked like a stiff breeze was blowing over. That was my first impression of the man.
What do you say, man? A tall drink of water with a silver spoon up his ass.
Huh? Never had.
10 cigarettes.
That's a rich bet.
All right, who's gonna prove me wrong? Haywood, Digger, Steve, Floyd.
Oh, brave souls.
Turn your cell phones free and count. All prisoners return to your cell phones.
Here's the warden, a hateful man, hateful man.
This is Mr. Hadley, he's captain of the guards. I'm Mr. Norton, the warden. You are convicted felons.
Oh, and by the way, in the novel, Mr. Norton here is not the warden of the prison for the entire stay that Andy Dufresne, the period that Andy Dufresne was in the jail. He was I think the last of them, and the others were different, and it changed once in a while. You notice the gleaming cross. I don't know how they got that. That's really good. I never noticed that before. That's a lucky pause, I guess. So actually, this character is speaking basically dialogue from the first warden in the novel.
That's why they've sent you to me. Rule number 1, no blasphemy. I'll not have the Lord's name taken in vain in my prison. The other rules, you'll figure out as you go along. Any questions?
Where do we eat?
You eat when we say you eat. You shit when we say you shit, and you piss when we say you piss. You got that, you maggot dick motherfucker? On your feet.
I believe in 2 things. Discipline and the Bible. Here you'll receive both. Put your trust in the Lord. Your ass belongs to me. Welcome to Shawshank.
By the way, this actor's glasses are not prescription glasses, you can tell. The glasses are completely flat, would not work as regular reading glasses. He is wearing them simply as a prop. And sometimes you can see the light reflecting off his glasses. Now and then, he has a different pair of glasses later on, it's amazing. And he is there in jail for so long. And despite that, this guy only changes his glasses once. I don't know if this is because it's supposedly in the 1940s and they just didn't get new prescriptions that often, or if it's just a decision of the costume people.
Unhook him. Turn around. That's enough. Go to the end of the cage. Turn around. Be loud. Turn around. Move out of the cage, go to your left, pick up your clothes and Bible. Next man up.
That powder is meant to kill insects that might be on their body or hair.
To the right. Right. Left.
The first night's the toughest, no doubt about it. They march you in naked as the day you were born. Skin burning and half blind from that delousing shit they throw on you. And when they put you in that cell, and those bars slam home, that's when you know it's for real. Old life blown away in the blink of an eye. Nothing left but all the time in the world to think about it. Look,
You see the way they set up the position of Andy Dufresne's cell versus Red's. They're right down the hall from each other.
those new fish come close to madness the first night. Somebody always breaks down and crying. Happens every time. The only question is, who's it gonna be?
See, that narration is right out of the book as far as I remember, or something very, very much like it. And that's all the detail you get. You get a whole scene here.
It's as good a thing to bet on as any, I guess. I had my money on Andy Dufresne.
So that was the bet that they were making as the new prisoners got to jail.
Lights out!
I remember my first night. Seems like a long time ago.
Can you hear how much the microphone loves his voice? Listen, they must have a very good microphone on here. The fish that the people are mentioning here, and in the earlier scene too, just means the new prisoners.
You wish your daddy could get your mom.
The boys always go fishing with first timers. And they don't quit till they reel someone in.
Fat ass. Fat ass. Talk to me, boy. When you're there, I can hear you breathing. Don't you listen to these nitwits, you hear me? This place ain't so bad. Tell you what, I'll introduce you around, make you feel right at home. I know a couple of big old gold queers that just love to make your acquaintance. Especially that big white mushy butt of yours.
God, I don't belong here. I want to go home.
And it's badass, my
talk about coronavirus and self-isolation. Well, you got to do something to keep yourself entertained.
What the Christ is this happy horse shit? You'll be telling him about the tonic, your ass. What is your malfunction, you fat barrel of monkey spunk?
Please. I ain't supposed to be here. Not me.
I ain't gonna count to 3. I'm not even gonna count to 1. You will shut the fuck up or I'll sing you a lullaby.
Please. Please. Stay. You don't understand. I'm not supposed to be here.
Open that cell.
Okay. Now at this point, I need to interrupt and show you the script for this point. There it is. Let me find the spot. Here it is, fat ass. Oh, let me blow this up a little bigger. See, here's Haywood saying, "This ain't such a bad place. I'll introduce you around, make you feel right at home. I know some big old bull queers who'd love to make your acquaintance." Now, bull queers are an important part of the story and an important concept to understand because, you know, they're important to the story, like I said. Bull queers are basically not actually homosexual people, but they're instead a kind of bully who rape some of the weaker inmates. And gosh, it's really bad. And see, this line was changed by adding the word Horace between these two words. This one is reduced by one word, this one. Wow. Oh no, I'm wrong. The scene that I'm thinking of is later. Wait. Oh, okay, but there's a similarity, and you're supposed to, in this scene, you're supposed to see the small puddle of blood where fat ass went down and Red is staring at it. There's another similar scene, and I know who that is. Oh, it's almost time to stop. Well, anyway, we are here. There are no page numbers, but we're at shot number 31 right here. Okay, let's finish this scene and then we can stop for today.
Son of a bitch.
You get a feeling for Hadley's personality. He's a sadistic bitch. Not a female dog either.
If I hear so much as a mouse fart in here the rest of the night, I swear by God and Sonny Jesus, you will all visit the infirmary. Every last motherfucker in here.
All the trustees take that ton of shit down to the infirmary.
He's breathing at least.
His first night in the joint, Andy Dufresne cost me 2 packs of cigarettes. He never made a sound.
We just saw that line on the script. Okay, it's a pretty good place to stop. This is the second day of Andy's stay in Shawshank at exactly 20 minutes. All right, that's pretty good. Okay, so we're at 20 minutes. Let me update this here. This is lagging pretty bad. Okay. Yep. Hey, let's look at this for just a second before we leave. So today, yes, we got up to the 20-minute mark of the film adaptation. This is a movie which is 1 hour. No, we have. We still have 2 more hours and then 2 more minutes and 33 seconds. It's a 2 hours, 22-minute long film, which I'm happy about. That's really nice. It's a great movie. We've got the midterm exam coming up. This is week 7. Week 9 is actually. Let me just change this. It's 27. So good. This is. I hate numbers. Anyhow. Next week is week 8, and we're going to finish Shawshank, and we're going to talk about it. If we have time after that, we can talk and introduce a novel by B. Traven. We don't know a whole lot about him. He kept to himself pretty well. There are a lot of theories about who B. Traven really was, because some people think he was a famous American author who went down to Mexico to live. And I'll tell you more about that next time if we have time. But at any rate, we won't have a time to make up the Treasure of the Sierra Madre novel. But there's the link. You should start to read it. And then on week 9, here's what I'm expecting. We're going to go to e-class at our school's website, and I'll do the exam there. Easier than a PDF or something like that. I don't want to have, 54 people giving me answer sheets. This is just good. I'd rather just take care of it online if possible. So I'm going to try, but I've never done it before, so I may change my mind. I'll tell you next week after trying it out and seeing what it's like. Okay? And then, so when we get back after the exam, and I'm not expecting to have a class that day, although I may show up just to talk to you and just explain how to do the exam and show you. And again, I'll figure that out next week. Our next novel is The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, something I've always wanted to teach, and I've only now found the complete novel plus the movie, the complete movie. Thank God I found it. It's a classic adventure story. It's really great. And I'm very excited about it. I have my own copy at home, and I'm going to bring it to class and let you see it. Yeah, man. Very nice, very nice. The link to the adaptation is right here. The novel is here. I'm going to actually copy this. Oh, for Pete's sakes. I'll do it later. Can I just copy the web link? I can't read it. Daggone it. Once again, let me say, a Chinese OS has no place in the Department of Applied Foreign Languages. And I'm just bitching about it a little more because it annoys me every time. All right, thank you very much. You all take care and have a great rest of your week. I'll see you next Monday. So long. Get over here and stop. And now I'm going to come over and turn this off too. I realized in the elevator
that this shirt I'm wearing does not go very well with my skirt, but whatever. Bye-bye. See you next time. This is the end of week 7.